Welcome to our mathematics program for grade 9. Our topic for today is inequalities. So inequalities is a chapter which has already been covered in grade 8. You will recall that in grade 8 you had learned how to represent linear inequalities on a number line and also how to solve linear inequalities. This chapter has been divided into 3 videos. In the first video, you will learn about the different inequality signs and also how to represent linear inequalities on a number line. So let us start. Friends, can you still recall where inequalities can be used in real life? Look at this picture. I'm sure you must have come across this over the island while traveling. So what does it mean? This is in fact a speed limit sign which indicates that a maximum speed of 80 kilometers per hour is allowed. So we're going to have speed less than or equal to 80 kilometers per hour. And this symbol represents the inequality sign. So it means less than or equal to. Sometimes we simply refer to it as less or equal to. Look at this second example. The age limit to possess a car driving license in Mauritius is 18 years. So, for a driver to possess a car driving license, he or she should be at least 18 years old. That is, he or she must be 18 years old or older than that. So this is the inequality sign representing greater than or equal to. Or we can simply refer to it as greater or equal to. Now we have a quick recap on the different inequality signs. So the first symbol represents less than. Second one is greater than. This symbol represents less than or equal to. And the last one represents greater than or equal to. Now, let us see how we can use the inequality symbol. The first example, fill in the blanks with less than or greater than. So we have 3 parts. Let us look at the answer for part A. First, we have a number line here. And you can see that as we move to the right of the number line, the numbers are going to become bigger and bigger. As we move to the left of the number line, the numbers are going to become smaller and smaller. In fact, if you look at the direction of the arrow, this is going to help you. So this arrow is just like the greater than symbol. So as I move towards the right, the numbers are going to become greater and greater. And this arrow, it is just like the less than inequality symbol. So as I move towards the left, the numbers are going to become smaller and smaller. Now, part A, 5, you can see that 5 is found to the right of 3. So this means that 5 is greater than 3. Part B, 2 and negative 3. So 2 is found to the right of negative 3. 2 is going to be greater than negative 3. But see, I have negative 5 and negative 1. So negative 5 is found to the left of negative 1. So negative 5 is going to be, can you guess? Yes, it's going to be less than negative 1. Now we're going to see how we can write the following statements using the different symbols, the different inequality signs. 6 is greater than 8. So I write it as 6 and I use this inequality symbol to represent greater than 8. Part B, negative 2 is less than 5. So negative 2 is less than 5. Part C, x is less than or equal to negative 3. So remember, this is the symbol for less than or equal to. So I write it as x less than or equal to negative 3. The last part, the minimum age, which is denoted by A, to vote is 18 years old. What does this statement mean? It means that for any person to be able to vote, he or she must be 18 years old or older than that. So he or she must be at least 18 years old. How am I going to represent this? Using the inequality symbol. So it's going to be A greater than or equal to 18. Now we're going to have a look at how linear inequalities can be represented on a number line. Example 3. Represent each of the following inequalities on a number line. So we have 4 parts. Let us have a look at the solution for part A. X less than 3. What does it mean? This means that x can take values less than 3, but it cannot be equal to 3. So how are we going to represent this on a number line? X cannot be equal to 3, but it can take any value less than 3. So I'm going to have an unshaded circle, or what we can also say is an empty circle, unshaded or empty circle at 3. This is going to show us that x cannot be equal to 3. Now, less than 3. So the direction of my arrow should be same as this symbol. So I'm going to move to the left. Part B, x greater than negative 2. So here, x can take values greater than negative 2, but x cannot be equal to negative 2. So on my number line, I will have an unshaded circle at negative 2. Now, greater means to the right. So my arrow would be pointing to the right. This means that I can take all values to the right of negative 2, but not negative 2. Part C, x less than or equal to 1. So here, x can take values less than 1, and it can also be equal to 1. So friends, now, do you still remember how we can represent it on a number line? Yes. Here we are going to have a shaded circle at 1, or we sometimes call it a full circle. Shaded circle would imply that x can be equal to 1. Now, x less than or equal to 1 would mean that I have to move to the left. So here is the representation on a number line. Part D, x greater than or equal to -1. So here x can take values which are greater than -1, and it can also be equal to -1. So on my number line, I would have a shaded circle at -1, and the arrow would be pointing towards the right because I have greater. So here's the representation on the number line. Example 4. Represent each of the following inequalities on a number line. So I again have 4 different parts. Let us see how we are going to represent these inequalities on a number line. Part A. So here I have x lies between -2 and 3. This means that x can take values between -2 and 3, but -2 and 3 are not included. What does it mean? This means that I'm going to have unshaded circles at -2 and 3. So here's the representation on a number line. I'm going to have unshaded circles at -2 and 3. But x can take any values on this line. Part B. X lies between -1 and 4, including -1 in this case. So here, x can take any value between -1 and 4, but -1 is included. However, 4 is not included. So on my number line, because -1 is included, I'm going to have a shaded circle. 4 is not included, so I'm going to have an unshaded circle. So this is the representation. See, it's not so complicated. But see, x lies between -3 and 2, and 2 here is included. So this means that x can take values between -3 and 2, including 2, but not -3. Can you try to guess how I'm going to represent it on a number line? I'm sure you must have got it correctly. Yes, I'm going to have an unshaded circle at -3 and a shaded circle at 2. So here it is. Part D. X lies between -5 and 1, including -5 and 1. So what does it mean? X can take any values between -5 and 1, including both -5 and 1. So how are you going to represent it on a number line? Yes, we are going to have 2 shaded circles, -5 and 1. So here it is. Fifth example. Write down the inequality satisfied by x represented on each of the following number lines. So here's part A. We can see that we have a shaded circle at 2. What does it mean? This means that x can be equal to 2. Now we can see that we have the arrow pointing towards the left. So here I'm going to have x less than or equal to 2. Part B. I have a shaded circle at -1 and my arrow points towards the right. So what would be the inequality here? Yes, x greater than or equal to -1. But see, I have two empty circles, two unshaded circles at -1 and 2. What does it mean? X lies between -1 and 2. And I write it in this form. But D, I have two shaded circles at -4 and 0. So I write it as x lies between -4 and 0, including -4 and 0. So here it is. So friends, these are some exercises for you to practice so as to better understand these concepts. So question 1, you have to fill in the boxes with the symbol greater than, less than, or equal to. Second question, rewrite each of the following statements using the symbol greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. Number 3, you need to represent each of the following inequalities on a number line. Number 4, again, you need to represent each of the following inequalities on a number line. Question 5, write down the inequality represented on each of the following number lines. So here, the representation has already been done on the number line. You just need to write down the inequality. You also have two interesting links. I would advise you to go and visit these two links so that you get additional practice on how to represent linear inequalities on a number line. So friends, in this video, you have learned about the different inequality signs and also how to represent linear inequalities on a number line. In the next video, you will learn how to solve linear inequalities. I hope you have enjoyed this video on inequalities, the first part on inequalities. And until we meet again in the next video, it's goodbye from me.